1. I focus on phrases instead of individual words. 2. I remember the 2R rule of memorization. 3. I remember where I got that particular word or phrase. And 4. I make up scenarios in my own head. Hi guys, in this video I want to tell you the 4 ways I do to memorize words. So this method works for me personally, and I think it does work for a lot of people, especially if they're at an intermediate level. So it doesn't mean that if you're a beginner you cannot really take my advice, but I think this works best if you have already a certain level of the language. So here goes. So once you're already at a level where you know all of the basic words and you can kind of understand things and you can string sentences together, at this stage it's much better to learn in phrases. So learning phrases is actually a more brain-friendly learning process because your brain actually likes to learn better in chunks. So think about the numbers on your credit card. They're usually divided into 4 chunks of numbers because then it's a lot easier for people to read it out loud and for people to memorize it. Also, if you do want to learn individual words, learning individual words in phrases is actually a lot better for you to remember it because learning it in phrases gives you context. And also, whenever you learn in phrases, you don't actually have to worry about the grammar most of the time because learning in phrases, the grammar is already kind of done for you. For instance, the phrase "how are you" is just said "how are you" and not "how is you." Why? Because that's just the way it is. As a phrase, you don't really have to think about why is it is and not are. I don't know, it's just how it is. And learning phrases will get you to sound a lot more natural when it comes to you actually speaking the language out loud. Number 2, I remember the 2R of memorization, which is relevance and repetition. So for relevance, I would ask myself, okay, is this word relevant to my life? Can I see myself saying these phrases out loud in my day-to-day? Or did I just choose some random word that I see from a piece of content and just wanting to memorize it just because? For repetition, do I see this word often in my life? If it's relevant, most likely you will. Or do I review this phrase or this word often so that it gets imprinted in my memory? Or do I just simply see it once, write it down on my notebook, and never see it again? Because if that's what you do, if that's the habit that you get into doing, forget it. Literally, you're going to forget the word immediately. So make sure that once you learn a new phrase or a new word, you repeat it over and over again. Number 3, I remember where I got the word. So for me, I never learned words or phrases that I got from a list, like 500 most common words or 20 phrases to say when you are confused. Stuff like that, I don't really do that. Some people do and it works for them, so that's good for you. But for me, I would rather look for words in actual pieces of content. So from videos, from TV shows, movies, or songs. Because then it gives me a story. It gives me context in which the word is used. So as a personal example, the other day I was watching a TV show in French and then I saw the phrase "ça fait beaucoup." So when I wrote it down, I didn't simply write it down and write down the meaning right after that, but in my head, I'm also replaying the scene in which this phrase was used because it creates a story. And when you create a story, your brain likes it better because some stories invoke emotions. And emotion is actually a good ingredient for you to remember stuff. So just think about some of your most memorable experiences. Probably the reason why that moment or that story is very memorable to you, it's because it's emotional. It made you happy, it made you sad, it made you angry. And with that, for the rest of your life, you're never going to forget that. So same like learning words. You don't have to make it that dramatic. But if you manage to make a story and then you invoke a little bit of emotion to it, or maybe it was funny, maybe it was a scene that was your favorite, you can remember it better. So whenever I learn a new word or a phrase, I always try my best to remember where I got it from and replay that story in my head. Which brings me to the 4th point, which is to make up my own scenarios in my head. Okay, so I found a phrase and a word that I got from a certain scene. Now it is time to make it my own. For instance, let's say the other day I just learned a phrase "from time to time" in English from a certain scene. Let's say the scene, they were explaining about how often they see their ex-girlfriend. So after seeing that scene, I'm going to make up my own scenario, trying to tell a story to other people. Yeah, I see my ex-boyfriend from time to time. Or yeah, I clean my room from time to time, not always, this and that. So that makes the memory a lot stronger in my head, because then I am in it. So the input, I get an example from a scene from a movie from somewhere else, and then as an output, I would kind of think of myself saying it out loud, and that is going to make it easier for me to remember this in the future, because I will imagine myself already saying it out loud. So yeah. Okay guys, well that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something new. If you do, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next week in another video. Take care and bye bye.